This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cavins.
And look at Greg Bedard. You look sunny. Did you get some color?
Just on my extended walk into the stadium today. That was about it.
There's a little pinkness.
Yeah.
You're medium to medium rare right now.
Yeah, sounds about right.
That sounds about right. Anyway, Greg, there's a lot of ways to kind of look at what happened today. Is a good win against a quality opponent. You had the Patriots. You had the Patriots losing this game, but It's a really good team, and they could have. We've been going back and forth a little bit about the big plays. Does that mean it's a fluky win? Did the Patriots not deserve to win it because if not for those big plays, it would have been a different story? Or is that just the type of thing that happens on a team where you've got some explosive playmakers and you were able to get the ball in their hands at the right time?
So I feel a little bit weird about this game. I picked the Bucs by like 3 or 4. I did think weather was going to be a little bit more of a factor. We saw that early in the first half. It was tough to tell in the stadium if that happened in the second half. I thought Drake would make a big mistake or two. He did make a big mistake. And also, we also need to state the fact that this is a good Bucs team, even as currently constituted. But, this is like the half Bucs. I mean, there's no Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. I mean, there's so many guys,
Bucky
Hassan Reddick, Bucky Irving, Cody Mack, they're, the second best offensive lineman. But that being said, being here and watching how everything unfolded, I couldn't be more impressed, with this win as a team win, just all around. And, I don't think it was just like fluky, big plays. I think that Josh McDaniels sort of, not the Henderson, not the Kyle Williams play. That was a really good check at the line by Drake Maye, had one-on-one, hung in the pocket. There were so many times today, the big pass to Mack Hollins where Drake Maye is, going against Todd Bowles, even though he's not fully staffed as far as his personnel, you could still see there were certain times because the Patriots seemed like we're in 3rd and long, like all day long. And Todd Bowles would get out there and he'd have like 4 or 5 defensive backs, like 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. And I'm sure Drake Maye is like, what the hell is going to happen? And so you have to delay delivering the ball just a little bit more. But there were so many times where Drake hung in the pocket and got blasted not blasted, but got hit well in the face. Deep pass to Mack Hollins, just having to hold on a little bit more until, Mack sort of declares. And, I thought Drake made some, ballsy plays. You had the sequence, which basically won the game at the end of the first half. Rabel going forward on 4th down, converting. It ended up working out for them. It was close to being a disaster scenario there at the end of the half. And then the defense to come up with stops. Drake, throws the interception in the end zone, which is dumb. He knows it. They have to get the field goal there to go up 8. That at the worst, you're going to overtime. If not, you have a chance to win the game at the end. And then the defense holds. I mean, they go all out blitz on 4th and 3. Craig Woodson makes a great play because Baker had been looking for Otten on that little sort of spot route all day long. This time, Woodson's a little over-aggressive, meets the ball at the same time, breaks it up. 4th and 3, they go all-out blitz. They execute it. Baker can't even get rid of the ball. So, I was just – I don't know if it was different on television, but being here after the fact, I'm a lot more impressed with this victory than maybe I would have been, ahead of time. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, maybe one way to put it is impressed with the victory, maybe more so than the performances, which were, somewhat inconsistent and spotty. You can look at the run game as not being effective outside of the 2 big runs. You could look at some of the plays that Drake Maye left on the field. But again, it's a tough team. It was a good defense. It's a tough place to play. And many of the plays were, and that's the kind of balance is, I think a lot of times we spend being a little nitpicky about, oh, well, Maye did this. When he gets older and more experienced, he won't do that anymore. But also the amount of plays he makes. You mentioned the Mack Hollins. I'll even talk about the Kyle Williams touchdown. That's a beautiful touch pass that's over the top of, a D-back who's right in his face there. And he just layers it right over the top, and then Williams just gets it and goes. So again, some big, big time plays from him as well. The one where he was in the pocket and had to dance around when he found Hollins for that first down. And I do think they put themselves in a tough position, Greg. I understand, like, you watch at home, and even I tweeted somewhat facetiously, like, stop running the ball. You can't stop running the ball. You have to continue to try, even though they didn't do a ton in play action, but they did, but they put Drake in some tough positions. There felt like there was a lot more second and longs and third and longs than he's accustomed to. I don't know how much that factored into some of the stuff that was going on. You did have that stretch there that went, didn't go for it on fourth, 3 and out, where the offense kind of really stalled there in the second half there. And I think part of that was just stubbornly trying to get things going on the ground when it really wasn't working for them. And
I was just looking at that. Like, after the touchdown to start the second half, they only had one first down on the next 3 drives. And, I know, I could see it on Twitter or what have you, or over on BSJ in the comments, people, wanting to put the Bucs away and being more aggressive and putting the ball in Drake's hands. There's an element of that. I understand that, but you need to run certain plays to set certain things up. Like, you can't just say, well, just give TreVeyon Henderson the ball on the edge, like, every time. No, the
Right.
defense is going to key on that. The only reason those plays work is because of the threat of the inside run, and that Levante David has to worry about, the inside run.
He's got to get sucked in.
Yeah. So he's a step late on that, the ultimate, game clinching, touchdown, where Levante David normally makes that play in his sleep. He didn't. And that was probably set up with, a couple of other runs. But I think there was also the element, of, I'm sure Vrabel wanted to run some clock, especially, with the wraparound score, and they sort of had control of the game right there. But yeah, you have to run certain plays and do certain things to set things up for later in the game.
Yeah, and that's what they did there. Talking about the defense, this is, again, this isn't meant to slant negative. It's the first time they kind of took a little bit of a shot here from another team that was able to run the ball relatively effectively this game. So that was a bit surprising because, again, I know Tampa's O-line was a little bit healthier than normal, but they didn't have their top guy in Bucky Irving. They were able to run the ball relatively effectively. What did you think overall in the Patriots defense? And again, I think they got beat up on zone a couple of times. Tight end had a big game. Tight end had a big game on them. But overall, again, a mixed bag, a lot of good, but there was definitely some things in there that,
Yeah. I thought they were good overall. Obviously, the opening drive isn't what you're looking for. And it still confounds me that, just like last week against the Falcons, where you knew Drake London was really the only receiver that Michael Penix was going to trust, and you still allow him to go off a little bit. Emeka Buka goes for 6 for 115. He had 13 targets in the game. Cade Otton had 12 targets. That was basically over half of Baker Mayfield's targets. He went for 115 and 1 touchdown. I thought Gonzalez on the whole did a good job. I was surprised to just look at the stats and see that Baker Mayfield didn't have 1 run in this game. That's pretty unusual, and that means one of sort of my keys going into this game was keeping Baker in the pocket, making him beat you from the pocket, where he's on the shorter side, throwing over the trees and things like that. Yeah, I do not like their zone coverages at all. But I thought the defense as a whole, they gave up some runs, and now we don't have to talk about the 50-yard thing because Tucker went for 53. And, we also aren't going to talk about, Drake Maye completed 52% of his passes. His passer rating was 89.4. So that ends a bunch of things. But I thought, just overall, I thought the defense did a pretty good job. Spillane was sort of all over the place. They didn't let the Bucs really do much of anything, with their quick game. They had a couple, end arounds that got them a little bit. But, the Bucs for a while were like 25, 28% on third downs. Now, that's been going on for like a month with them with all their injuries, but the Patriots, kept doing it and kept them struggling.
Yeah. As far as the run game was concerned, we mentioned the 2 big things by Henderson. What did you think overall of his performance here? And again, Ramondre Stevenson is out. They lose Terrell Jennings as well. You're heading into, elevated practice squad land with D'Ernest Johnson coming in there, and Henderson got banged up for a split second there, was able to come back in the game, and obviously had that 69-yard run as well. But if Ramondre were to miss extended time, can you keep rolling with him as your lead guy and just live with it? Or is it going to get, and again, the schedule eases up a little bit as well, but is this going to be something that's going to be difficult to sustain? Do you really need a thumper?
Yeah, probably. Especially with Terrell Jennings going out with the knee. I mean, it's interesting. Any questions you have about usage and what do the coaches think about player X or Y, you just have to look at what the coaches decide in terms of how they use them. And really, to start the game, Terrell Jennings was really the every down back. I wondered after last game if that was going to be a change, because I was not impressed with Henderson last game. I think I will be more impressed here. He was sort of pressed into service and kind of had to do it. And, maybe that was the spark for him that will get him going. One thing with Henderson that I just don't understand why this isn't happening, and this might be a Drake Maye thing because he doesn't get to the check down quite as often as I wish he would. But, just one reception, one target for 3 yards for Henderson. I just think he would be such a weapon, like just in the check down game to get 6 or 7 at a time. But you're asking me, do I think he can, say Ramondre's out for a month, can he fill the role? No, I just don't think he can take that kind of beating. Today he only had 15 touches. So I think that's where they'd like to keep him, somewhere in the 15 to 20 touch range. So they got to figure out who are the other touches going to.
Yeah. I was surprised too, because Henderson started, but he came right out, and it did go to Jennings, and it did look like they were going to kind of put him in that lead back role and maybe split the touches a little bit with Henderson playing all passing down. I don't get that, Greg. I guess two things I want to ask here. You see Henderson do what he's done by getting the ball in space, and he gets it on, kind of running it to the outside. It is shocking there aren't more screens or more, wheel routes or more just opportunities on the check down to get him the ball and just let him run. In the same vein, I'm also somewhat surprised that they're not using Kyle Williams a little bit more, not just running down the field routes, but almost like the way Ben Johnson used Jameson Williams last year on some crossers, using his speed coming across the middle of the defense and just letting him run, because that's a threat that you have here. You saw it today. I think everybody was so excited for the first time. It's like, oh, those toys we got for Christmas. I finally got to unwrap them, and see these guys use their speed. Is there something more Josh McDaniels can be doing? You mentioned Henderson, but to get the ball in their hands and let them run a little bit, as opposed to, what's been, the way they've been used so far this year?
The screen game, it just hasn't been good. The execution has not been good in the screen game. I can't think of very many that have been good this year. This might have been a team that you don't want to screen against because you just don't know where the pressures are going to come from, and you're inviting too many negative plays. Right. As far as Kyle Williams and, how to use them, and we only have a 1 game sort of sample size. Up until now, he's the 5th wide receiver on a team with 4 wide receivers who have been healthy. He's just not getting much time, and that's not really going to change. I mean, who are you going to put him in ahead of? And they like Mack, Hollins, and his the toughness that he brings. And by the way, I was just looking that Mack Hollins was the most on third down, the most targeted guy by far. He had 5 targets on third downs, 3 receptions. Diggs had 1, Henry had 1, and Douglas had 1. I look, they're 8-2, and the offense has been pretty good for the most part. So I'm not going to second guess a whole lot on usage at this time. That's sort of a champagne problem.
Prize Picks, number 1 daily fantasy sports app in all of North America. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. The show, as we said, is always brought to you by Prize Picks, and you can get in on the action today. It's a great time of year to do so. You got multiple sports kicking at the same time, which is great. Simple to play, a lot of great offers as we like injury reboots. Somebody gets hurt in the first half, they don't come back, you're covered. Flex play, you can cash out early. A lot of free squares throughout the week. Multiple sports that you can insert into your lineups, make it that much easier for your lineups to hit so you can earn cash. All you have to do is download the app, use code CLNS, get 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, code CLNS, get 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Check it out today. Sign up if you can, or if you're interested. This is the best place to do this sort of thing. If you haven't checked out this app, or if you do like to play daily fantasy sports games, the Prize Picks app is phenomenal, very intuitive, very easy to use. So check it out. And it really does help us out. If you are going to sign up when you do use that code, you see it on the screen again, CLNS. Use the code, get 50 in your lineups when you play 5 instantly. Prize Picks, it's good to be. It's not even the second guessing. It's more the how much more can you get? It was. I feel like it's a little taste that it's like, oh, this would be a cool thing that you could dip into, down the stretch here and have this going for you as you're heading the playoffs. I feel like each week, Greg, the expectation level changes a little bit, which is why like the analysis gets, before it'd be like, oh, who cares? Drake Maye played well. They'll be fine. Wins don't matter. And all of a sudden they start stacking up wins. And now you see what's happening around the rest of the AFC. The Colts are you're tied with for the best record. That's not a team that you're like, oh God, they'll never beat the Colts. The Chiefs, you see their blemishes as well. Buffalo just laid an absolute egg in Miami. The conversation around the Patriots keeps changing. How much has it changed for you after this week's game? Because this was if they go into Tampa and they beat a real team like this on the road, I think I have to consider them actual Super Bowl contenders. Is that, is your head there yet with this team?
Super Bowl, Schmooper Bowl, I don't know. I mean, I don't really concern myself with that, but I will say that I take them with this game, and this is also, we do have to point out, and I even wrote my column on this last night for today about when I looked at the teams and I watched the films of the Bucs, and my headline was basically like, we'll learn whether the Patriots are contenders or pretenders today, because they should beat the half Bucs and they should beat them comfortably, which they really should have. They had control of this game throughout, and I don't care what the final score is. It was a relatively comfortable win. Yeah, you had to sweat out that last drive with Baker Mayfield. But even with that said, even with, not having all the guys that the Bucs don't have, to win at this place in the humidity, in front of these fans, and there were a lot of Patriots fans here. Drake Maye remarked about that. Baker on the other side, I take them a lot more seriously now than I did the day before. I think this was a big boy win. It wasn't perfect.
Exactly.
Drake Maye wasn't perfect. You didn't ride his coattails to a victory, even though he made a handful of plays that made me say, wow, in the press box. So there's that element. But yes, I probably before this game, I viewed them as sort of like in that group of secondary contenders in the AFC. Like, I still have the Chiefs up there. I have the Colts up there. And there was one other team that I had up there. I forget who it is right now, but
it's not Buffalo.
It was Buffalo, before today. So I now put the Patriots up. I still think by the end of the season, it's going to be the Chiefs, who are the clear favorite. Now that they're getting healthier, but I take the Patriots a lot more seriously after today. I was impressed with today's victory.
It was an impressive victory. We're going to sneak in. We got Greg for a few more minutes here. I want to sneak in a couple of super chats before we do, and just to let you know here, if you want to support CLNS Media here with super chats, we're not going to stop you. All donations are split equally among the hosts. So if you want to throw anything in there and put in a comment, we'll put it on the screen and we'll talk about it. Somebody here was responding to the MVP conversation during this game. In the middle of the game, Drake Maye vaulted to the betting favorite for MVP, Greg. I think on one book tied with Mahomes, and the other is the clear favorite. And people were arguing, no, it's Jonathan Taylor. Well, no, a running back's not going to win MVP most likely. But Sir Bricks and Cole here wanted to point out that Taylor is playing behind a terrific offensive line. Jeff, with the only proper spelling of Jeff, the cool Canadian way. Buffalo has a letdown game after beating KC. Patriots didn't against the Saints. That has to mean a lot. And El Presidente, Nick Gelso, who doesn't know the rules of football, but he does like watching the post-game show. He likes Greg a lot. Patriots are really back, says Nick. I don't know that he knows that for real, but he said it, and that's something. So, yes, and we do like Geoff. But thank you to Jeff, and thank you to everybody for contributing on the Super Chats. Anything we're missing here on this game, Greg? A couple of smaller injuries. You don't want to see it because the defensive line's playing so well. Barmore left, came back.
Injuries? Come on. Everybody came back other than Terrell Jennings.
Little tweak, and then Barmore left again, right? And then he didn't play with the back thing?
I don't know. I mean, and I saw him in the locker room. Like, he seems fine. Like, I think the Patriots lead the league in injury timeouts and guys who return to the game.
They probably do. And then I don't know what happened with Diggs on that last play too. I hope he didn't end up with anything funky because he slammed his head pretty hard on the turf on the fair catch.
He was in the locker room. He looked fine. I will mention funny moment in the post-game locker room was Kaylavon Chason chirping Kyrus Tonga coming out of the shower saying, like, Tonga, dude, you're on defense. Like, you know, I'm looking out there and you're trying to get in the offensive touchdown celebration, like, and all this stuff. So, and Tonga's one of these guys, like, because I love going up to him in the locker room and, like, telling him how awesome he is, because he is. He's an incredible football player. And he just hates it. He just kind of, like, shrugs, he just kind of shakes his head and doesn't want to hear it. But I do want to talk about the end of the first half sequence. Can we just talk about that for a second? Yeah. Because first of all, Vrabel was asked. I asked him, and then I think Sarah Sullivan.
It wasn't intentional.
I think it was. Well,
you do.
Drake Maye said it wasn't. Mike Vrabel was asked about it twice. Wouldn't answer the question. If there's no question that they were trying to score, then Mike would have answered the question. He doesn't like to lie. He doesn't want to lie, so he didn't answer the question. I thought live on replay, Drake Maye was definitely going down to use clock. It came this close to completely blowing up in Mike Vrabel's face. But like everything so far this year, everything's coming up Patriots. Drake Maye makes a ridiculous pass. Stefon Diggs toe tap on fourth down on the final play of the first half. They get 14 points to take the lead. It could have been 0 or 7 points. That was just incredible. But I totally think that Drake Maye said that he was trying to score. Sorry, Drake. I don't believe you. I think that they were trying to use clock. Vrabel's not trying to tempt the football gods, doesn't want to speak anything to that. But, man, that was a hell of a sequence. It went their way. Ballsy call for Vrabel to go on fourth down. Like he said, they made him look good. And that sequence to the start of the second half basically won the game.
Well, let me ask you, is that – I hated that. I thought that was too cute. I just don't think that – especially the way you were running it, and especially how stout that D-line had been that was stuffing you on the short runs, or every time you tried to run it into up the gut. I thought you needed 4 shots to get that in there. I did not like wasting one. It did work out, but it worked out thanks to a superhuman effort by Stefon Diggs with incredible body control to keep his feet in bounds there. If they don't score there, we're having a different conversation. Like, again, hindsight 2020, but while he was doing it, assuming it was intentional, did you agree with it?
I kind of did in the moment, John. I'm one of these guys also.
Because it was ballsy.
I'm a micromanager. Once it got the fourth down, like, I will say this. I agreed with sort of not trying to score on first down. Then once the Bucs, of course, you're tempting fate because Vita Vea is in the middle of that defense. So unless you have something really cooked up on, like, second down or whatever, But once it got the fourth down, I thought, all right, you tempted the football gods here enough. Like, you didn't try to score. Then as a punishment, you got stuffed on the next 2 downs. Just take the points and move on and tie the game. Is that what they would have done there? I forget what it was. So it was 7. No, it was 10. Yeah, I would have tied the game at halftime. Go on to the second half. Try to build off of that. But, it worked out really well for them.
Yeah, it was something. I think you should point out for Diggs today the 2 really high level plays. I mean, he had a couple of big plays here in conversions, but that one was ridiculous. That onside kick was like a 10 out of 10 perfect onside kick. That was a very good play.
I didn't see it. I was down in the tunnels.
That's exactly what you could get it high enough over that first level where it pops in the air and your team has a chance to go in there and pick it out of the sky, or absolutely drill whoever has to go up and get it. And that's what happened. Diggs high pointed it and got absolutely smoked. Really, really outstanding play by him here. I want to give again flowers to you. You mentioned it on the double move and this and that. This is Mack Hollins' second 100-yard receiving game of the season, and the second time he's led the team in receiving yards here. And as you mentioned, he was their go-to third-round guy, not Hunter Henry, Booty, who's not here, who's been a reliable target there as well, not Stefon Diggs. It's Hollins. Is this an evolving relationship, or is this just part of the I throw to the open guy, and today it happened to be Mack? Because we were tough. A lot of people were tough on Mack Hollins because they didn't get him. Like, what does he do? Like, why is he playing instead of other people? And early in the season, a lot of people were saying, well, he helps a lot in the run game and he's a veteran guy and he's smart and he knows what he's doing. But now he's like valuable in the passing game, and Drake Maye leans on him.
Yeah, I mean, I just think he's a jack of all trades. Like, whatever you need. I mean, I think he's mostly an inside possession receiver, and we saw him, catch a couple big balls there from Drake Maye. I still can't get over that pass, Drake Maye. I think that was on third down. Before Drake threw the interception. And I had like a perfect angle in the press box. It was like right in front of me, like Drake's back was to me, and like, he just threw it to an area. Like, he had a guy coming in to hit him in the face, and he just hung in there and trusted, Mack Hollins to, see it at some point in time. He threw it so early before Mack was even ready. But I mean, it was sensational. But, Mack does a lot in the blocking, keeps a lot of stuff, from Stefon Diggs, who you don't really want run blocking very much. So he just does a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's a really good game by him. As Greg said, a good overall victory for the Patriots here, who now improve, as we said, to 8-2. They have a game and a half lead on Buffalo. I think it's December 14th, that game here. Buffalo goes down. That was a shocker. I don't know if you were following that in the press box here, but
I just saw the score a little bit, and I thought Buffalo would be like 2 games behind the Patriots, but they're still. Well, I mean, they had the game in hand.
It's the one in the loss.
Yeah. It's only 1 in the loss column. I thought for some reason it was 4, but I mean, huge ramifications in the AFC East.
Huge. And then, you've got that game in Foxboro, which is most likely going to decide the AFC East here. Is it time to rethink again? Is Buffalo, in your estimation, again, you didn't get to watch today's game, are they still the class of the AFC East, or is that gap much smaller? As you said, you had them coming in, you thought they were a lot better.
I mean, currently constituted. I don't know what their injury situation is, but I mean, look, the Patriots have a really good injury situation. The Bills do not, and that makes all the difference. And so I don't know if that can clear up for Buffalo. I don't know if they're going to get guys back. Like, they've just been so beat up, especially in the secondary. They don't have
receivers.
No, either. And they stink at receiver.
And Kincaid went out with a hamstring today too, so they're a mess. Yeah.
Today, I'm saying the Patriots run the AFC East right now.
Crazy.
Will that change with depth, issues? Possibly, but right at today, yeah.
Crazy. Let's quick note here. Greg Bedard, you should If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast, the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast with Nick Cattles. Subscribe to that, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel here, Patriots Press Pass, where you can get the video of that, or anywhere that you listen to your podcasts, Apple, Spotify. Please rate and review. And if you haven't already, you should be a Boston Sports Journal member. It's only $50 a year. Best Boston sports coverage in town. $7 a month or $50 for the year. You can't beat it. You got Greg Bedard and Mike Giardi covering the Patriots. Terrific coverage throughout. John Corrales doing Celtics. By far the best Boston sports coverage in town. Sign up today. Subscribe. $50 a year. You cannot beat that. We're going to say thank you to Greg Bedard. Make sure you read whatever he has to write after you sign up for Boston Sports Journal as soon as you get off watching this show. Greg, I'll see you. We'll see you next time.
All right. Sounds good.